That's some smooth copper frame. Oh yeah.
Hey guys! Welcome to the channel. This is the setup for my 2022 bullet journal. So let's get into it. I start with the front page. Usually you'd put your name here, but I don't like looking at my name, so I put a sticker there. It's one of the foil stickers that I really like, and it helps me identify my bullet journal without having to literally put my name on it. For the actual first spreads of the setup, I take some colors of washi tape that I don't really use and use that to mask off parts of the page. This just makes painting way easier since I don't have to rely solely on my ability to paint in straight lines. I take some copper paint and new brushes that I bought with my Christmas money and start painting. And while I keep doing that, I want to talk about the theme for this spread. As some of you can tell from the copper paint, I'm going for an industrial, steampunkish design with a bunch of gears and mechanical parts, just a teensy bit brighter. This is partly inspired by my current project for study mode, which is my Minecraft series, and my storage room, which has a similar color palette. On a more artsy, symbolic note, I wanted this to be kinda a symbolism for getting back into a course and going for a goal again in a way, instead of like the kinda up-in-the-air feeling I had as a non-major. This time, I actually have something to strive towards, and I'm actually going towards graduation. I also planned my 2020 cover to be kind of art deco, the like 1920s like, but I completely forgot that right after the 1920s, it's the Great Depression, and look where that got us. So I'm trying to get another 20s, but not the 1920s, but the 1820s. And that's the start of the first Industrial Revolution. So of course, I'm working with brighter colors, but I want to keep that exposed gears and mechanical parts look. If you want an example of what I'm talking about, look at Charles Babbage's difference engine. A bit coincidental that I'm mentioning something related to computer science when I left it to be in my new course. But yeah, this theme is going to be very evident at the start, and it's going to start fading into retaining just a color scheme as we go on, since there are some spreads that need all the space they can get, and I can't really shove designs into it. Before I forget, this notebook is from Butte. It has 180 GSM paper, which is thicker than my previous bullet journals. The only issue is inconsistencies with the paper and dot placement with some of them, like having extra dots or dots that are shifted to one side differently on some pages. You might have seen it during the start of the video, but this journal also has hollow edging. My last journal had gold edging, but when I saw this one had hollow edging, I had to get it. I actually got two, so I have consistent ones based on brand. So this is the first one, which has the diamond hand design, and then throughout the year you're gonna see the second one pop up when I run out of pages. Now going back to the actual spreads, I start the design by peeling off the washi tape borders, touching up certain portions, and painting a moon-shaped gear with my metallic black paint. It's not really seen on camera, but the metallic black has a copper sheen, so I thought it would pair well with the copper paint. Of course, I needed to have a crescent moon on my cover. It's a shape that I find so pretty and it makes its way into all my aesthetics, so I want to include it in the setup cover too. Despite being a metallic, the black paint was very opaque, so I didn't have to layer much. To help clean up the edges, I take a thin black marker and go around the painted shape. I continue the tube going around the copper border. I wanted to have a more irregular shape to the cover's border compared to the year calendar on the other side, so they wouldn't look too similar to each other. Then the gray tube just adds some extra detail. The next is the other major gear, which is pretty simple since I already pre-sketched it. I color it dark red and outline it with a matching vintage pen. Then the next gear has different shaped teeth for variety, but it has the same general look as the other gears. To fill out the space, I add pipes and parts going around and across each other with some gray and light brown. By the tube, I add something that looks like a belt of some kind. It's kind of easy to make since I only need circles and line connecting them to make it look like it works. Then the last purely decorative part is a turquoise connector made out of circles and flared out shapes that look like it's holding the circles for movement. Kind of like a bike chain, but you view it from the side. To make the year label, I start by making the box that has it, so I just color that in with my gray mild liner since it creates a lighter gray than my marker. Then using a thin black marker, I just trace the sketch of the label. Since it's a more old school design, I thought that having Roman numerals would look better, and 2022 doesn't look too complicated in Roman numerals either. I take the washi tape and start masking off areas again since I want there to be copper pieces holding up the year label. I also had to cut some piece in half, so just to make it the right shapes. Now it's just a pretty simple job of painting over the area. When it's dry, I remove the tape. For the year calendar, I'm just doing something similar to the previous two designs I've made for both notebooks that have the same dot count, and I can't really change the space I have to work with. There's going to be a colored header with a calendar on the bottom. Since I'm working with the same colors, I flip the colors around so it doesn't look too similar. When working with boxes and markers, it's a lot easier to start with an outline first and color it in so you don't go over the edges and you have an assured clean edge. Make sure you wipe your ruler between colors though so it wouldn't stain the felt tips or change the color of your markers. When that's done, I just color the rest of the box in. I have an associated pen color with each marker, so I use that to make the bottom of the calendar, then the sides are just in black. Since I'm making the calendar itself with colored pens, I wanted there to be some contrast and not fully the color, but I wanted the top and bottom of each month to match. Now to make the spread functional, all I have to do is make the calendars in each box. It's really helpful when you're referencing a calendar for a spread to start with the first day of the month and work your way through each week. So if the month starts on a Monday, then you write 1, and then 8, and then 15, 22, 29, going down each row of the Monday so you don't need to keep looking at the calendar and you can easily see if you skipped a number accidentally since it wouldn't line up once you try making the entire calendar. You can do this for every month so you can just keep filling up the months without the need to keep looking somewhere else. For the decorations, I'm making all of them technically behind every calendar. I start with making a turquoise gear and make sure that I color in the red pipe in front of it. A lot of the decorations are just different colors of pipes to connect the boxes together. But I do have a light brown belt to add some more interest instead of just pipes going everywhere. The last step is just adding the days of the week to each calendar. The next spread is the page measuring spread. I'm gonna gloss over this a little bit because it's gonna be different for every notebook. But what I did is just label each space of the grid with a number to see how many spaces I have. Then I used the different colors in each color scheme to mark where the divisions were horizontally and vertically. I used dark gray to write the numbers, brown with the halfway point, orange is dividing the page into fourths, green is still dividing the page into fourths but the boxes aren't all the way across leaving a border around each area, then red divides it into thirds. It really helps when I'm trying to create a new spread that's not like one of my usuals, so just have this for reference. The next page is my goals spread, which is gonna look similar to last year, but unlike last year, I'm not gonna set a minimum or maximum for the number of goals that I have, but I'm still gonna mirror the spread design and the sorting of it into different categories. I start by making the title box, and after I color in the title, I mask the area to get ready for painting. I use the copper paint to make a box around the text. When that's done, I make the other boxes. I tried making each box a different size so that they don't look too similar. Each box is going to contain a different category of goals. When the outlines are done, I just color them in. To decorate this, I start by making a big red belt across the bottom half of the page. Then this belt is connected to a dark brown gear on the bottom. Then I just use the other colors I have to keep adding the same pipes around the spread to match what I did for the year calendar. Then finishing it off with that sideways bike chain shape again. The next spread is my future log, which is gonna pose a milestone for my bullet journaling. I start by coloring in some tabs that I drew on the 3 pages I'm gonna use. Then, it's a big milestone since it's gonna be the first time I'm gonna make something like a Dutch door or mini booklet within my spread. I trim the edges of the page using my cutter and make sure that I'm not cutting any of the threads that bind the notebook as I do this. I do have a hard time trying to maneuver around some pieces, so I do use my scissors to trim other parts too. So it's gonna look like one full spread with 2 small pages on the inside, when in reality it's 3 spreads where 2 full pages are made by the left side of the first spread and the right side of the third spread. I make sure to outline the pages on the left and rightmost pages so it creates a full look. I also color in the other side of each tab since you're gonna see the tabs from both sides, except the tab on the last page. I color in the title, which just says Future Log on it, then I outline that with a matching green pen so it's clearer. The Future Log style I prefer is just having a vertical list of every day of the month, so I can add entries whenever I want and still keep it in order. I do sometimes have days where multiple things overlap, but I want to keep the chronology of it so I can go through it and not miss anything. I use the same color order for each set of the 4 months. All that changes is the number of days per month. Since I already have my year calendar completed, it's a lot easier to make dated spreads. I tape up the bottom corner on the right side so I can paint a copper gear. I had to hand paint each of the gear edges since I thought it was too much effort to mask the gear individually. I also didn't add the usual holes in the gear since it was gonna be a harder paint job and more edges to keep clean. The other decorations are other mechanical parts, so I make a big gear on the left side with a smaller turquoise one under it. The right side is gonna have this exhaust release thingy, so it's gonna look like a wide pipe with one of those accordion looking attachments that allow you to bend the pipe. I did some preliminary sketches and colored that in with my gray mound liner for a lighter shade to contrast the darker tab at the gear. The pipe itself is just made with layering simple shapes on top of each other, while the accordion tube is made by drawing a curved connection, then making diagonal lines through it. Longer in the middle and it gets shorter through the edges, but making it narrower through the inside of the bend and wider on the outside of the bend. Then connecting all of those lines with curved lines. Then to finish the decorations, more lines all over the place to serve as different pipes. I've been avoiding having to write month names since they're all really small to fit in the spaces of the spread, so instead of making them in the font that I've been using, I just write them as numbers instead to make it easier. Next, I have my 2 well-being spreads, which are my measure spread and my year in pixels. The first one I'm working on is my measure spread. I just take a brush and start painting the title in copper paint. So I decided on some changes to the measure spread. If you don't already know, throughout 2021, I would measure myself periodically to see how I'm changing, since it's more objective for me to see individual measurement numbers than numbers on a weighing scale. I used to do it every 2 weeks, but now I'm reducing it to once a month since I do get tired of doing the measurements sometimes, and every 2 weeks gets a little bit pressuring. To make the metallic part stand out, I color a gray box around the copper text. Since it's painted in acrylic paint, the marker should stick to the painted area. Then I just make 12 boxes for each month. The color order is actually the same as the year calendar, so it's 1 month that corresponds for the month of the year on the year calendar. Like before, I box each area with its corresponding color first, making sure to clean my ruler in between, then fill in the rest of the box. The other borders are just made from the same color of pen as the colored box beside it. The box made by the marker is gonna have the date of when the measuring was done, then the larger box on the side is for the individual measurements. To finish it off, I just add more pipes around the title. Next spread is the year in pixels, which I've had for the 3rd year in a row already. I start by making the top label, which I just fill in with a marker, then making the labels on the top and the side, which are the months on the top and the dates on the side. Starting with the left border, I make the shape that I'm gonna fill in. Instead of making a full box and coloring the parts that don't exist in black, I already plan out until where each month is gonna go by marking it on the bottom, then all I have to do next is just make the grid for the year. I make it with my dark gray vintage pen, which does make a thicker line than my black pen, but it dries faster so it wouldn't transfer as easily. Then we're back to adding washi tape since we're gonna give it another paint border. This time we're gonna be using the black metallic paint I used earlier to make the moon year. I just need to make sure that it's opaque enough, then I can peel off the tape. Beside the grid, I need to make a key for all the colors I'm using this year. I added some colors and removed a few. Then taking all the colors I want, I just line them up and color a box on the page using my previous year in pixels as reference, then I tape it up later and paint a copper border around it. I kept some color codes that work, like how angry is red, pink is hyper, orange is stressed, golden yellow is okay, lemon yellow is lonely, light green is sick, dark green is nervous, turquoise is productive, light blue is happy, dark blue is sad, blue violet is excited, and brown is insecure. But I did change some colors and added a few more. So for the changes, the red orange is now indifferent instead of tired, which is kind of like okay but leaning negatively, where okay is not really feeling much but leaning positively. Purple is now loved instead of the bright pink from before, since I didn't really like how striking the pink looked on their color key last year, and gray is now tired instead of lazy. Then I added 2 new colors, a mild cyan and a dark gray. The cyan is hopeful, which is kind of like a different version of motivated from last year's list, but it's less immediately here than excited. It's kind of hard to describe. The dark gray is burnt out since I thought I needed a larger range for stress, so now there's stress, nervous, tired, and burnt out, since I can't really differentiate before my own level of motivation to get things done, and I couldn't tell the difference between if I'm just feeling lazy that day or I'm actually burnt out. Then just to take up some empty space on the page, I add a big gear on it and a box over the title just for some consistency. The next set of pages are my video trackers. When I was fully painting the cover with copper paint, it went through some of the pages and it showed up on the spine of this page. To solve that, I take some of my copper tape and cover that part up. Since the text that says stuff to check out is longer, I make the tape cover more of the left page. Then I just color in the text that's already been sketched, and I make some boxes around it like the other spreads. In my last setup, I only had one stuff to check out list, and since I was looking forward to a lot of shows still coming out in 2022, it looked like I was making much progress with my list over the year. I wanted to separate the ones that haven't been released yet with the things that are already released, which makes picking shows to binge a lot easier since it's one list of shows that are already available to watch. Then I can use a to be released spread to track the ones I'm looking out for and actually have their release dates marked. As with most of my spreads, they don't look that good until they're actually filled up with stuff and then they start to look okay. So after the list of shows, it's the watch tracker. I'm sticking with my upgraded 2-page design since I do watch a lot of shows. To save some time, I use my copper tape again as a super simple decoration. This spread is going to be filled quickly, so it's better to keep the design as simple as possible. The creation of a watch tracker is basically just making another grid across the notebook, making space for the start and end dates as well as the type area, which just tells if it's a weekly show, a binge show, or a movie. I'm considering using the dark gray pen to fill up the spread, so I use the brown pen to make the lines. My previous Jujutsu Kaisen setup had a gray watch tracker too, so I wanted to move away from that. Then I used green for the label so that it would stand out against the copper tape. For this first watch tracker of the year, I have 70 entries, which should cover me for at least the first anime season. There are really parts where it's basically just the colors that stick with the theme and not really the designs anymore since I tend to run out of space. Then next spreads after my watch tracker are my YouTube planning pages. So on the left I have my video plan and on the right I have my study mode plan. I like being able to have a planner for my videos so I know what to work on when. It also gives me an idea of how many videos I need to prepare for the month and if I have space to add some more fun ideas. The video plan is super simple since all I need is a space for each Monday of the month and a space for a bonus video if I have time to make one. That's just made by changing up the colors of each box as we go down. Most months usually have 4 Mondays and some have 5, so I need to keep track of those too so I know what to upload. For study mode, there's only 12 episodes each year, so I just need one box for every episode. Then each episode is broken down into 3 gameplay sessions. I usually like having a theme for each episode, so I have a line for that too. So the colored box on the top is just going to say the episode number and the month it's going to be uploaded, and the blank section for each gameplay session and the overall theme of the episode. I find this super important since I usually get lost with what I'm supposed to do when I record, so having it pre-planned is way better. The finishing touches for both pages are the month labels and the episode numbers. Taking my copper paint again, I start filling in the wish list title. So this is gonna be super simple since it's just gonna be a title and a line. It's just a section where I get to place things that I want to buy or want given to me. It helps when people want to give me presents or I just want to keep track of things I'm saving up for. The other side is gonna be my theme overview for the year. This is one of my favorite parts of my previous bullet journal since it gives me a small look into the themes I used for the year and it looks really nice when complete. So that's just made out of 12 sections with a painted copper border around it. At this point, I think you already know how I'm making the border. Take some washi tape, put it around the edges, and then paint the area. Then we leave it empty because there's no monthly themes yet. And the last spread that I'm showing on camera is my playlist spread. I like having a song for the month in my mid-year setup, so I'm trying to see if I'll be able to keep it up for an entire year. Keeping it simple is just a box with a line by the bottom to represent the song progress. Then to keep it in theme, I just add the copper washi tape on top where a title's supposed to go, which gives the spread some decoration, and it also stops the page from needing a full title written out. And that's my setup for 2022. I hope you guys liked this spread. It took me a little more time than usual to make since there are so many pages and I needed to wait for paint to dry. I still have some spreads planned that I didn't make on camera, like my classes taken and my memories spread, since my classes taken is irrelevant until I have most of my recent grades, and 2022 hasn't started yet so I don't have memories to log. What do you guys think of the spreads? Any suggestions for monthly themes? Leave them in the comments below. If you found this video interesting, hit the like button. If you want to see more videos like this from me, then hit the subscribe button and the bell to know when a new video is out. I try to upload every week, Monday nights at 8. I guess that's all for the video. Bye guys!